We never know what's really going on in people's lives. And we have that opportunity at arm's length all of the time to reach out, to be open, to be aware, to say, God, what do you need me to hear today? What do you need me to do? How do you need me to take action? Let me be open for you to simply work through me. We don't have to go on a mission trip across the world to be the hands and feet, right? To make the impact, to change the world. You have that opportunity in your hands every moment of every day. Welcome back to this episode of the Low Bottom High Rise podcast with me, your host, Moira Casaba. And this is episode 2 in a series called Listen to the Whisper, LTTW. I gifted my mastermind members bracelets, the little words bracelets, and they just said LTTW. Just that daily reminder to always tune in and listen to the whisper. And I thought about it and I thought, if there is one thing, and I've shared this before, if there's one piece of advice that I can impart to the world, that I could impart to my family, that I can impart to my children, it is just that. To listen to the whisper in your entire existence, your entire life will change before your eyes. And so after I gifted them to my mastermind members, I was like, wait, I need these for my children. My children need to have this daily reminder. My husband needs to have this daily reminder. And so I did that for my children as well. And I just want to pass that along to you to think that maybe that's something you want to do for your family. Today's going to be a really short episode. These little mini episodes are just stories and just reminders of real experiences that hopefully open your eyes and open your heart to listen to the whisper more and how that can not only change our lives, right? Because that's a lot of what we've been talking about, the paths that open, the doors that open, the relationships that come into our life when we listen to the whisper. But how much and how important it is to listen to the whisper so that we can be the hands and feet right here on earth, in the Target, in the grocery store, in the parking lot. We don't have to go on a mission trip across the world to be the hands and feet, right? To make the impact, to change the world. You have that opportunity in your hands every moment of every day. And so this story comes from one of my dear, dear, dear friends, Dar, Coach Dar on Instagram. If you're not following her, please go follow her. She is one of my favorite people on planet Earth. I've never met anyone like her. I just want more of her in my life all the time. She is extraordinary. She is so special. And I actually had her on the podcast. So if you missed that episode, make sure you go back and listen to Dar's episode. It is beyond powerful. Her story is just so impactful and so amazing, but her message is just as impactful and amazing. So I encourage you to go listen to that. But I was talking to Dar about this one day when we were together in Utah. We were just having this casual, friendly conversation. What we do, when we get together, we go deep. And we were kind of having this conversation around this concept, listen to the whisper and being open and being guided. And she was like, gosh, that reminds me of this one incident, this one experience. And I'm like, tell me, I love these stories. And ironically, coming on the heels of the last episode where I shared 2 airplane experiences, this too was in the airport. And she said, I came home late. She speaks and travels all over the world more than anyone I know. I mean, she's on the road way less days than she's home. She said, I came home super late. It was 11 o'clock at night. She was exhausted. She was starving. And when she arrived at the airport, the only thing in the entire airport that was open was one of those candy, like Rocky Mountain candy companies. And she's like, I literally, like my insides were eating themselves. Like I was starving. So she goes to the Rocky Mountain Candy Company and gets one of those giant apples, right? Like the apple on a stick. And she gets the apple and all of a sudden she just sees this woman kind of walk by her. And she said, I could feel her pain. I was just open enough and aware enough to feel that energy. And this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes and oftentimes the whisper calls us into the uncomfortable, right? We don't want to approach a stranger in the airport. We certainly are very, skeptical of approaching somebody that's angry or frustrated or crying or upset. And she could just feel the energy. And she stopped the woman and said, "Excuse me, ma'am. I just want you to know I can feel your pain. And this sounds silly, but if this apple helps at all, I wanted to give it to you." Sounds so silly, right? And she said the woman started crying and saying, "I work 3 jobs. It's my 6-year-old's birthday today. It's 11 o'clock at night and I haven't been home. And because you gave me this apple, now I get to walk in the door and hand them something on their birthday because I haven't had any time to get a gift." She was just crying and weeping. If that is not divine whisper, to nudge somebody into action. And this is what I'm talking about, right? We hear these things and they seem crazy and weird and we just don't take the action. We have the power to change people's worlds in an instant when we tap into and tune into that whisper. Again, because this podcast is so impromptu, I'm going to tell you this story of my daughter's best friend. She is an exceptional little girl. She's 14 years old, 13 at the time this happened, last year. Typical 13-year-old girl. They're, dance team together. She plays a lot of tennis and just your typical 13-year-old girl, but she's not. She hops in the back of my car. "Hey, Miss Moira," we're talking. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I gotta tell you this God thing that happened today." And I was like, I'm here for this. Tell me all the things. But I'm thinking, what 13-year-old girl gets in the back of the car and excitedly wants to tell you a God story? And she's homeschooled because she plays tennis at such a high level, but they have like a homeschool group, that meets. And she said, I was just sitting there doing my work at school. There's a room with maybe 5 or 6 people. And she said, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like I just hear God say to me, "Go give her a hug." Guys, if I got that message, I'd be like, "I'm sorry, God, that's weird. I don't know what," I don't know what to do. She's like, so I got up and I went over to the girl who I was supposed to give the hug to. And I just said, "Can I give you a hug?" She's like, "I just listened." And so I gave her a hug and same thing. She starts crying and she starts telling me about how she's been depressed and how she's struggling with this and she's struggling with that and how much of a difference the listening ear and a hug made to her. And guys, I'm not putting suicide or clinical depression on anybody in a story, but we never know where people are headed. We never know what's really going on in people's lives. And we have that opportunity at arm's length all of the time to reach out, to be open, to be aware, to say, "God, what do you need me to hear today? What do you need me to do? How do you need me to take action? How can I be a vessel for you? Let me be open for you to simply work through me so I can be the hands and feet for you in Target, in the parking lot, at the homeschool." Children are so much more open. But as we get older, we start to shut down, right? How is that going to be perceived? How am I going to be judged? That's going to be weird. Ask yourself today, how can you serve? Ask God, how can you serve? How can I serve? There's an amazing prayer that I always misquote because I kind of made it up myself along the way. It's by Father Michael Judge, who was the New York City Fire Department chaplain. He died in 9/11. And it goes something like this. God, help me to do what you need me to do. Help me meet who you need me to meet. Help me say what you need me to say. And I always just keep going. Help me be who you need me to be. Help me see what you need me to see. Help me become who I need to become. Help me do what I need to do. Help me believe what I need to believe, right? We could go on and on and on, but it is one of the most powerful prayers that I go back to time and time and time again. And I will link in the show notes the actual prayer, the way Father Michael Judge wrote it, because that's what we're called to on an everyday basis. Help me hear the whisper in my heart to do your work. Help me get out of the way. Listening to that whisper changes everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this series, these episodes. They'll keep coming. This is really, truly my message to the world. And I hope that you share it. I hope that you DM me. I hope that you tag me in your stories. I would love to hear nothing more from you. I want to hear your stories. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.